Sup, freaks? It's your boy Marty Matt here to introduce this episode of Rabbit Hole Recap Stimulus Package. Matt and I just had a good rip. A lot of rambling towards the end there. Just bouncing ideas off each other about the current state of the oil market, MMT, a bunch of other things. We did talk a lot about Bitcoin and everything going on in the Bitcoin world. The first hour of the episode, the last 20 minutes, is all macro and just spitballing ideas with each other. Crazy times we're living in, freaks. Very crazy times. There's a lot of unforeseen externalities that are really coming to the fore as coronavirus shutdown starts affecting the markets, and demand, the demand side of things is so weak that the supply side is starting to react pretty viscerally and pretty aggressively. So I think you guys are going to like this. One caveat, your Uncle Marty learned about money laundering through like a thought experiment he had by himself. I want to make it clear I am not money laundering anything. I just had a thought experiment when it comes to PayJoin, and it just so happens that thought experiment led to me potentially being a money launderer at some point in the future, which is not going to happen. I can promise you that. I will never launder money. Questioning whether or not if I should stop record and re-record this preview. But you know what? Fuck it. I'm feeling some type of way right now. The world's going to shit. Who cares anymore? I'm definitely not going to money launder, but I sort of explain how you could money launder in this episode. This episode of Tales from the Crypt is brought to you by our good friends at the Cash App. You freaks already know all about them. They're helping you stack sats, help you send sats, they're helping you receive sats, and they're helping you sell sats if you so please. On top of that, they got Cash App Investing, which is helping you stack slivers of stonks. If you want to stack a sliver of stonk on the Cash App, you can via Cash App Investing. If your favorite stonk is a little too expensive, you can invest as little as $1. All right? And because your bank account is directly connected to the Cash App, or because Cash App is your bank account, you can start investing today. There's no 4 to 5 day waiting periods. You can start stacking slivers of stonks today. On top of that, they have their Boost program, which is an incredible program that allows you to initiate Boost with partner merchants. You go to that merchant, you use your Boost card, personalized with a signature. You save a little bit of money. And you can take that money and stack stonks. Oh, excuse me, stack sats with that. And then on top of that, if you have not downloaded the Cash App yet and you plan on doing it, make sure you use the code Stacking Sats. That's one word, STACKINGSATS. Stacking sats. You're going to get $10. $10 is going to go to our good friends at Owls Lacrosse, doing incredible things in Chicago. That's Owls Lacrosse, not that dirtbag owl. Owls Lacrosse. Woo, 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 woo. Use the code Stacking Sats. Download the Cash App. Enjoy this episode of Rabbit Hole Recap Stimulus Package. Please forgive me for coming to realize what money laundering is on the go. It's on the go. It's a thought experiment. I'm sorry.
You've had a dynamic where money's become freer than free.
If you talk about a Fed just gone nuts, all the central banks going nuts.
So it's all acting like safe haven.
I believe that in a world where central bankers are tripping over themselves to devalue their currency, Bitcoin wins. In the world of fiat currencies, Bitcoin is the victor.
I mean, that's part of the bull case for Bitcoin.
If you're not paying attention, you probably should be.
What is up, freaks? Welcome back to Tales from the Crypt. We got a Rabbit Hole Recap Stimulus Package. Getting it in this week. Matt just popped his bottle of Macallan. How the hell are we doing, brother?
Did the mic pick up the pour? I guess we'll find out afterwards.
I'm sure it did. We shall find out.
Cheers.
It's your mic. Cheers. I'm drinking whiskey with you as well. I got the Bullet. He's got the Macallan. He's sipping on something much smoother.
I had to go on a run for this
this
week.
You ran to the liquor store?
No, I mean I drove there, but note to self, you should.
I know.
I think you always under expect how much scotch you can use in a bug out period.
In a global pandemic. Yeah. We actually went on a liquor store run this week. I did. this weekend. Stocked up on a lot of vino.
The essentials.
Yeah, Matt and I were talking before we hit record. I'm going crazy. Not crazy, but just like it's Groundhog Day. Sure, you freaks are experiencing this too. It's the same thing every day. They shut down the beaches here. We can't even go on a nice beach walk. They shut down the parks here. Can't even drive to a park.
You haven't been going to the
beach? No, we
beach?
did do a drive-by of the one park. They've started, like the cops are like patrolling the beach now. So they weren't when I put this. It makes no sense, dude. But we're not going to start on pandemic stuff. We're going to start on Bitcoin stuff today specifically. There's lots to talk about. But first, we have to get to some shout-outs. This one wasn't even a shout-out. Somebody bought us a bottle of whiskey, and in the part where they're supposed to put in the whiskey bottle we should buy, he just put in a message. And the message was, drunk AF, American Hodl, a little bitch, sent from Coinbase because I'm a little bitch, too. LOL. So that was the first shout-out. Don't know who that was from. Thank you for the whiskey.
We appreciate it. We'll get a bottle of Victor's.
American Hodl, if you're listening, this man thinks you're a little bitch. Just want you to know. Or a woman. Could be a woman. And then this one, was very happy to, I don't want to say edit, just to read through this article before it got posted. You guys should go check it out. Hey, freaks. I hope you're all hanging in there as the virus and the Fed turn our lives upside down. If you have some extra time in your hands, get a friend or family member and learn a new skill together. I've been learning to code, and it feels great to have something to focus on. Please take a few minutes to check out my first ever blog post on privacy, avoiding the digital panopticon on Medium. Thank you, Matt and Marty, for all the incredible content. You can find our buddy Eric on Twitter at EricB_10 or on Medium at EricB10, no underscore. So on Twitter, at EricB_10. On Medium at EricB10. Go check out that article, Avoiding the Digital Panopticon. It was a really good one. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Was humbled to be mentioned in it.
Thanks, Eric.
Shout out to Eric. What's going on? A lot of Bitcoin stuff to talk about this week. The first topic was the topic we actually mentioned in literally the last sentence of the last episode. We were wondering about PTC Pay server adding PayJoin, and I think as literally as soon as we hit stop record, they sent a tweet that said that they did launch their latest release, which includes the P2. I always say PTEP.
PayJoin.
P2EP implementation PayJoin. So it's pretty huge. We've been talking about this for quite a while. Matt tweeted out a beautiful sound clip from your episode with Stefan Livera, describing why P2EP and implementations like PayJoin are important. This is going to be massive for privacy. So you're just basically trying to make every spend a CoinJoin. And so, what?
No, just you and acronyms. That's all. Sorry, continue.
Yeah, it's not good. Not good. Pay to endpoint. I should just say.
Or
it.
colloquially, PayJoin.
PayJoin, yes, much easier. But PayJoin is an implementation of P2EP.
Sure.
Correct?
Yes,
that is a Stonewall and
correct. Not Stonewall. Stowaway is on Samurai.
Stowaway. I'm sorry. There's so many goddamn names to remember the Samurai stuff. Blockstream worked in or funded the implementation, I guess. Is that the correct phrasing to use there?
I think they provided a grant to Mr. Kooks, who was the primary developer.
Yeah.
I'm like 90% sure of that.
So,
but regardless, they provided some kind of funding there. But yeah, Mr. Kooks was the primary developer. He got this shit done. It's fucking big deal. It's really important. And like the beauty of PayJoin is that with PayJoin, you have in every Bitcoin transaction, you have inputs and outputs. You have the transactions that are on the sender side, what's usually believed to be the sender side, and then you have outputs, which is where the receiver gets his coins. And then one UTXO is changed, it goes back to the sender. So with PayJoin, both the sender and receiver contribute inputs. So you can no longer assume, but it still looks a lot of times a PayJoin transaction will look exactly like a regular transaction. You can't tell the difference. And in that case, you can no longer assume that all the inputs belong to the sender for all Bitcoin transactions. So it gives like a passive privacy improvement to non-users of it if used at scale. But the main issue with it is that the receiver needs to be online or available, right? So you could do it through like something like NFC or QR codes or something like that as well. Samurai has it implemented with QR codes. But the nice thing about BTC Pay is you're already online. The merchant's already online. So all they have to do is keep a small hot wallet online as well. And then they're able to enable PayJoin transactions, which is, I think it's a really big deal.
Yeah, huge deal. And like you mentioned, need a hot wallet to make this possible. And so if you do implement this with your BTC Pay server, you can mitigate the risk of having too many funds in a hot wallet or by using the BTC transmuter plugin, which will help you sweep that stuff after a certain threshold. You can set the thresholds and make sure that you're clearing out that hot wallet as need be as you're receiving and participating to Bitcoin's privacy overall. That wasn't the only thing in this release. They had a bunch of UI updates. It's very, very sleek, much sleeker than it was a week ago. They got dark mode, and then more importantly, they have coin selection, which is pretty huge.
Coin selection is really important.
Talking about privacy, one of the ways to fuck up your privacy is to use a wallet that doesn't have coin selection. You really don't know the UTXO selection of that wallet software unless you really dive into the code. And so what happens a lot is the wallet software just automatically combine UTXOs, which is obviously not ideal for privacy if you want to be selective with sending particular UTXOs that you know the origin of and can be confident in mixing them if you want to mix them.
Yeah.
So coin selection is huge.
Yeah, what you want is you want to be able to not only select UTXOs, but you want to be able to label them so you know what they are. And for the same reason as why PayJoin helps here is because if you combine them in a transaction when you're sending, it can be assumed that all the inputs belong to the sender. I just wanted to make 3 quick comments about PayJoin. First of all, we will be implementing it on our BTC Pay shop. That should happen shortly. So you can PayJoin if you buy us a bottle of whiskey, which would be dope. While it's supporting it right now from BTC Pay itself, you can send PayJoin transactions that are compatible with BTC Pay. They're the only ones right now. Green Wallet, Blue Wallet plan to support it. There's a couple others along the BTC Pay implementation. Join Market has its own implementation that works between Join Market and Join Market users, and Samurai has its own implementation that works between Samurai and Samurai users. So hopefully we see more wallets implement PayJoin implementations. Hopefully we see more usage of it, and hopefully we see, as Marty said earlier, we see more coin control with labeling, just as an option. Like if your wallet wants to default to just doing the whole balance as if it's one giant ass UTXO, then by all means. But in the advanced tab, you should be able to have coin control with labeling. Yes.
Slowly but surely, the stuff is all getting better. And then on top of that, they added QR code camera scanning. So the new scan option lets you use your device's camera to scan an invoice when sending from the wallet. So that's just a good UX improvement and makes BTC Pay more useful. So shout out to the BTC Pay server team. Nicolas Dorier tweeted out a few weeks ago that this was going to be one of their biggest code pushes to date, and it did not disappoint. So this is BTC Pay server version 1.0.4.0. So if you haven't updated it, make sure you do that and take advantage of all the dope features. Enable PayJoin, help out Bitcoin, every Bitcoiner's privacy, and that's the beauty of when you interact with PayJoins and P2EP. You're not only helping your own privacy, you're helping everybody else's as well. And let's bust up these chain analysis heuristics. We talked about that on Thursday, how fucked up they are. And speaking of something we talked about on Thursday, which we wanted to bring back up, is Trezor. They had released a blog post talking about their latest update, which included the new passphrase changes and then
wipe code, SD card feature.
And then the SD card feature with the pin, which basically makes it like a 2FA. But what we caught one version of the release blog. Apparently there was another blog post released that day as well that talked about some security fixes that they made as well in that push. We just wanted to touch on those as well.
Well, first off,
what do we have with the security fixes?
First of all, I thought it was, it's a little bit questionable that they had two blog posts. One did not have the vulnerabilities that were fixed in it, and the other had all of the first one, but then also these 4 vulnerabilities that were fixed. We missed it. We were looking at it real quick before we started recording last week, but still, we missed it, and it kind of feels like it was intentionally misleading. But anyway, there's 4 vulnerabilities. 3 of them are Bitcoin related that were found by Salim, fucking destroyer of hardware wallets, like that guy over there. And then the 4th one was a Monero one that someone else found.
Is he legal yet? That's a weird question. Is he 18?
Yeah, very odd wording, Marty. I believe so. But the internet will forever think he's a 16-year-old. I think I saw someone under his thread was like, crazy that a 16-year-old kid did this. And I hope it was a troll. Yeah. I think it might have been a troll. I'm not sure.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, Rashid Salim has been a very prolific bug finder in the hardware wallet space for quite some time. He's he's a good hacker. And the other bug was like a Monero issue, right?
Yeah, you could set unlimited lock time. An attacker could. Just force hot. You can force someone to force hodl their Monero.
Yeah, what kind of attack is that?
Well, it's kind of like a ransom.
Hostage
it's a ransom attack. Yeah, it's like ransomware. Yeah.
But even if how could you get out of it though? If the lock time's initiated, you can't like pay your way out of that.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I don't know how you would monetize it. You could. I guess it's just like a grief.
Yeah, it's just there's like griefing. A word for it. It's griefing? Is it griefing?
Yeah, when you're just like kicking someone in the balls, just kick someone in the balls.
Yeah. It's like just a mean hack. It's like, fuck you, I'm gonna lock your coins up for 1 million blocks.
I guess you could do it to an exchange. And then if they didn't notice, you could withdraw money.
That makes sense.
I think it does.
So they're just keeping it in their ledger on the back end. Yeah.
But anyway, there was 4 vulnerabilities. Yeah. We're linking to the blog post in the show notes with the vulnerabilities in it. But even more of a reason to update.
Yes. Make sure you update.
Update. And it broke HWI support.
Oh yes, this is important to talk. Andrew Chow tweeted this out for HWI hardware wallet interface users, which is something he's been working on, and we talked about in the episode that he joined us for. Was that last summer, last fall? It feels like forever ago at this point. These firmware versions will not work with the new firmware versions of Trezor. Will not work with HWI. Trezor 1 removed the way that we were implementing the prompt pin command. This will be fixed shortly. The sessions changes the Model T are causing HWI to no longer be able to communicate with the device. A fix has been prepared for these 2 issues. However, the passphrase changes to the Trezor T means that the user experience with it will be severely degraded. Either you will have to 1, enter the passphrase on device every command, or 2, enter it in CLI options a la Trezor 1. So that seems pretty annoying.
Yep. Just like unintended consequences with these things.
Externalities.
I wanted to Yeah, so if you're using HWI, which most people use to interact with Core directly with their hardware wallet, then don't update your Trezor, I guess, until they update HWI. But what I wanted to say about PayJoin is there seems to be some people who are pitching it basically as a replacement to CoinJoin, or that these coordinated coin joins, like we see with Whirlpool,
like a Whirlpool or Wasabi implementation,
that they're not necessary. And the thing is like you have to realize these are complementary tools. Like we need usage of both of them to go up, because
they break different heuristics, right?
Yeah, I mean, if both sides of a PayJoin transaction are known entities with their UTXO set completely known, it doesn't matter that you PayJoined, right? Like to an external observer, it matters. Like someone who doesn't know any metadata attached to these UTXOs, but someone who actually knows that KYC information or just general metadata, IP addresses, email addresses, stuff like that, could see right through that PayJoin. They know which input's which input.
Yeah. What I was actually thinking, now that we're back on PayJoin, like, would I be able to buy? It's probably too expensive, probably not worthwhile with other implementations like Whirlpool and Wasabi out there. But like, would I be like with our merch store? Like, would I be able to just like coin join with myself? Nobody else would know but me, and just pay the X amount of dollars for the merch. I'd obviously have to buy a lot of merch. It'd probably be dumb to do, but if I was like hard pressed.
I don't know what you mean by just using PayJoin.
Yeah, so our store has PayJoin set up.
Right.
And I say I have a bunch of UTXOs and cold storage that I want to coin join. I could do that from our store. Obviously, I'd be paying. It'd be like $12 to $20 per mix.
I mean, it's not really a mix. That's the thing. It's not a
coordinated. There's not like.
The thing is, you still. It's not even like a two. You still. There's still heuristics that can be applied there, right? If you know which two parties are transacting with each other, so it's only two people. And
well, that's the thing. I'm the merchant, so I know that. In this case,
what do you mean?
Like, I'm the only one who knows both sides of the transaction, or me.
Both parties don't know in this situation. I thought it was an interactive process.
Situation.
What? Oh.
I would be both parties.
Oh. So like you'd be buying.
This is me, like,
you'd be buying our own merch.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it gives you a limited privacy bonus, and that sounds illegal.
Way too expensive. Would it be illegal?
Yeah, it depends how you treat the profits coming into the store.
Yeah, that's a good call.
We're not doing that.
No, obviously
we're
not
doing
that. But I was thinking, we're not doing it. Our FBI agent that's listening right now, don't worry, we're not doing this.
But that's the same idea as something like self-shuffling, right? Where you like simulate coin join rounds between yourself and no one else, right? So you have it's a much reduced anonymity set, like to the point where in most cases it won't be effective. Like you need new liquidity. The whole idea is like you need you need it can't just be like incestuous. You need more users coming into the system.
Yeah. No, it was just a thought experiment I had after this came out. I was like, yeah. Because I was just thinking, like, what if I bought some merch with Bitcoin on the site? That's how that thought experiment started. I'm like, I'd be paying for that. And the conclusion I came to is probably be way too expensive and stupid to do that because because you're paying for the transaction fee and then the merch on top of it, where other implementations of CoinJoin. You could just pay for the transaction fee.
Yeah, I mean, I think for the privacy benefit you get, Whirlpool's cheaper in that situation.
Yeah. Hey, thought experiments. Just push through them. This was something that I did not catch till you put it up on the list. Pretty funny that happened. So for you freaks who don't know, huge contention about bitcointalk.org and bitcoin.org, two websites that in the early days were more popular than they are now. Bitcointalk.org is still relatively popular. Bitcoin.org, I guess people are not big fans of it anymore. Co-owned by Thamos and Cobra, who's in both Anons. A lot of drama has been created because of the ownership of these websites and the people who run them over the years. And it seems that over the weekend, late last week, they decided to split up. They're owning both sites 50-50, but now Cobra has Bitcoin.org and Thamos has BitcoinTalk.org. So they're going separate ways. What do you think about this, Matt? It's just funny, like old drama. Is that a resolve? A resolvement of that?
It's kind of weird. You know, I don't really know any of those internal politics. Like they're both, you know, the OGest of the OG. As much as I've disagreed with both of them plenty in the past, does seem kind of weird, doesn't it? That it just like happened. It seems very mutual. I like question, like, is something happening behind the scenes? Did one person pay the other? You know, like bitcointalk.org, while a mainstay of early days of Bitcoin, is like way less valuable of a domain than bitcoin.org. So it makes me curious. And then the other thing is, just for undue speculation sake, there's a post by Greg Maxwell underneath that says, on the announcement of Bitcoin Talk, that says, "I'm really sad to hear this. It seems like Bitcoin faces such tremendous headwinds," which is like eerie as fuck.
I'm really sad to hear this. It seems like Bitcoin faces some tremendous headwinds.
April 18th, 2020, Greg Maxwell.
Did it respond any more to it? Let's see if a conversation got started there. Greg, why are you freaking out? No, so if you freaks are relatively new to the Bitcoin world, bitcointalk.org ordinarily that's where I got a lot of my information. It sort of turned into like a place where shitcoiners were launched there, pre-mines. But in the early days, this is where Satoshi was posting a lot and interacting with people about the code base and everything that was going on.
And all the old threads are still there.
Yeah, so you can go back. It's a great historical artifact at this point. One of the best that exists.
Can we just talk about what Greg Maxwell said underneath this post for a second? Like, isn't that eerie as fuck?
Yeah, what are the headwinds? Yeah,
why is this?
Does he think one of the two domains is going to be used as a weapon?
Or like an anti-Cobra comment?
Like that?
Like he wishes Thamos still had control of Bitcoin.org? I don't know. That's a theory. That makes sense to me.
So here's another OG commenting, Midnight Magic. I think peeps need to step back one or two steps and be calm. There were a lot of times that Bitcoin.org could have gone wrong, but ultimately didn't. I think maybe some folks are assigning too much retrospective probability to Cobra's potential to be malign. Functionally and operationally, and especially authoritatively, nothing's changed, far as I can tell, right? I think Cobra says things a lot of the time that are ill-considered or appear to look one way or another. And there was an odd security warning a few years back, for example. I forgot about that. But so far, at least, either something has been moderating his response or he's been arriving at an ultimately correct decision to act on his own. In the first case, hopefully whoever it is that can continue to offer advice. In the second case, something in there has prevented him from heading towards, for example, Bcash all on his own. I think Cobra himself would agree that downloading the client for Bitcoin.org, maybe that's it, Bitcoin.org being a place where you usually download versions of Bitcoin could be used maliciously to have people download a bad version or something like that.
Yeah, that's always been the concern. And like suggested wallets and stuff like that. There's also bitcoincore.org. And there's also the GitHub page, I'm sure it's mirrored.
The GitHub page. Just go to the GitHub page.
I'm sure it's mirrored
GitHub.com/Bitcoin.
Sorry, I'm sure it's mirrored in a bunch of places.
Yeah.
But I think the bigger concern is always
we're sitting on that asset.
Wow, I'm sorry. I think the bigger concern is that we. My mom just walked into the office. The bigger concern is Bitcoin.com.
Hey, Miss Odell. I mean, yeah, well, Bitcoin.com. Well, did you see we didn't talk about that. They laid off like 60% of their staff or something like that.
But that's where noobs go first, right? They type in Bitcoin.com and they just go to it.
Yeah. I've actually been getting quoted in Bitcoin.com articles more. Matt's giving his mom like, what the hell's going on right now?
Ridiculous.
No, but yeah, Bitcoin.com, just from a nature of SEO and being around in the early days, they dominate all the SEO. So anybody searches Bitcoin wallet, like they come up first. But they are struggling. It seems they are in a very vulnerable spot. I wonder how long. Do you think Roger ever comes back? Do you think?
No.
You think? No?
Never going to happen. He's lost.
I got to go to fork.io. We got to check the hash rate.
He's lost. Absolutely lost.
Hey, I believe in redemption. Oh my God. When was their hard fork? Bcash is at 1.55 exahash right now.
When was the hard fork?
Right,
it was like what, like a week ago?
A week ago. Yeah, their 7-day hash rate's hovering around 1.7 exahash.
What's the percentage?
7 days around 113, 1.7 over 113. Whatever that is.
Doesn't it shows the percentage
like
on fork.lol.
Not even one.
Yeah. I like percentage number. It's good.
It doesn't show percentage. It shows just shows ratio, which equals percentage, but they don't do the math for you. And we all know Marty Math is pretty bad.
Definitely on air. All right, my math is way worse on air. I promise you that.
Yeah, me as well.
The other piece of news,
they do have the total. It's currently 2.08%.
Marty, we're like 6 weeks into not seeing each other, and we're finally talking over each other while we're trying to record.
That's because what's going on, man? What's going on? It's the whiskey. I got like people screaming downstairs. If you freaks can hear them, if my mic's picking it up, it's chaos.
My mom walked into the office, grabbed a pen, didn't make eye contact with me, wrote something down, walked over, handed it to me, walked out of the office, and on the note it just says "when sausage," because we're eating sausage tonight for dinner. Like that's what just happened to me, and I tried to maintain my composure. I had to share it with you, freaks.
When sausage.
When sausage.
I think we may need to make a T-shirt out of this.
No, we're not making a T-shirt out of this.
What kind of sausage? Pork sausage?
Yeah, we have pork sausage. We've been eating really well. We have like steaks all the time. Like we just filled up the freezer with just tons of meat.
Well, I've been eating really well too. We've got ribs in the oven right now, but I've been a sucker for like local or small one-off farm butchers. I've actually started to get targeted with ads on Instagram with these butchers. I succumbed to one of them today, one in Wyoming. I forget the name, and I don't have my phone near me, so I can't give them a free shill.
It's
right
the
now,
best.
but
They just ship that shit to you. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I bought 10 pounds. I'm getting a tomahawk. I've like been craving a tomahawk for so long, and they don't have, the butcher down here doesn't have any. So I'm very excited to have that delivered to my doorstep within the week.
Fucking fantastic.
That's the one thing I miss. That's one thing I miss. St. Anselm's, man. Would you love to go to St. Anselm's right now and get a tomahawk?
Dude, fucking steakhouse, beers, just at a bar. It'd be great. It'd be fucking fantastic.
It would be incredible.
A steakhouse.
Can barely go outside now.
A steakhouse.
Right. Just drinking martinis.
I don't drink martinis.
You know what I've been actually been thinking? I want to find a speakeasy. I know there's a speakeasy somewhere, like it's going down. I want to find like a parlor like speakeasy where they even let you like smoke stogies or cigs. You could just drink without social distancing. Maybe play little cards. If anybody knows of a speakeasy in South Jersey, let me know.
Like that's happening right
Your
now.
Uncle Marty's looking. It's gotta be.
Are we just?
The return of the speakeasy is probably here.
Are we too old to know where the speakeasy is? Is that the issue?
No, I think we're too young. I think the people throwing the speakeasies are know what they're doing. They've been around the block a couple times. I don't think any millennial is starting a speakeasy.
Maybe. You never know.
Yeah, it's started by like corrupt government officials and mobsters. That's who's running the speakeasies.
That's like the old version of the speakeasy. There could be like new age speakeasies operated by young people.
The new age speakeasy would be like, it'd be like alcohol free, bud only.
No. This is the generation that was on spring break while the corona was going. They're not going to let a little virus stop the partying.
Well, that's actually funny you bring that up, spring break, because that's the interesting thing about like social distancing and the externalities of like the countrywide lockdown. Like in Jacksonville, they opened up the beaches earlier this week. Did you see that picture?
Yeah.
There was like hundreds, thousands of people on the beach, and I spoke with somebody who actually spends time on that beach in the off season pretty regularly. She would be down there right now if the virus stuff wasn't going. She was like, the beach is never that busy this time of year. Like, so like the FOMO to just get outside and experience nature drove like more people than would otherwise be there to the beach. So it's like weird.
Yeah,
tinkering with human nature.
When
and
you
stuff
take
like
something away from someone, they want it so much more.
Yeah, as you freaks may be able to tell from this tangential conversation on speakeasies that we're having right now.
Yeah, like just a steakhouse. I want to spend an inordinate amount of money at a steakhouse. Just with the boys,
right.
Like that'd be awesome.
It would be. Hey, when I'm back in Brooklyn, that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna go get a steak at St. Anselm's.
I'm down. I'm down.
By the way, it's the best steakhouse in Brooklyn. Peter Luger's is way overrated. I don't want to force St. Anselm's to jump the shark by pumping it too hard, but in my opinion, it's the best steak in the city. Maybe not even just in Brooklyn.
It's great. It's fantastic. New York's a big city, so I will not.
Back to Bitcoin topics.
I will not speak in absolutes.
Yeah, I like to do that. Back to Bitcoin topics. This is actually one news that broke while we were recording last week. People were like, why didn't you talk about this? Why didn't you talk about this? So I was like, literally stopped recording, checked Twitter, and saw it. Purse.io, which has been a huge marketplace for I don't want to say huge marketplace. It's been a marketplace available to Bitcoiners for quite some time. Decided to shut down its doors. So that announcement dropped last Thursday while we were recording. And it's sort of sad to see, even though I was never a Purse.io user, it provided utility to a lot of Bitcoiners. And I don't agree with everything they did over the years, but you can't deny that they did provide a service for people. I saw rumors that the Amazon affiliate link rev share went down and may have hurt them.
Amazon squeezed their affiliates.
Yeah. So I think that may have been the reason. I don't know if that's what they described in there.
Well, so I don't think the whole idea of Purse,
their blog post.
The whole idea of Purse was that if you wanted Bitcoin, you could buy products on Amazon that the seller of Bitcoin wanted, and then you got their Bitcoin. So if you had Bitcoin and you wanted something from Amazon, you would do the opposite process. So in the beginning, they had some big issues with credit card fraud. You remember the guy who got swatted? Basically, he was selling Bitcoin and he wanted these Amazon items, and the buyer of the Bitcoin bought with a stolen credit card and then shipped it to this dude's house. So the cops hit his house. So then Purse added like a $10,000 insurance or something like that for damages in that situation and cracked down on it. I'm not sure if it happened again after that. But that kind of freaked the shit out of me. So I never tried it. But they did have, the founders were very supportive of Bcash, which Marty kind of alluded to. This Amazon affiliate link kind of, affiliate thing probably hurt them as well. And then probably just on top of that, just being able to buy gift cards for Amazon from Fold and BitRefill probably drained up the last of their customers they had there, right?
Yeah. Probably definitely the UX is definitely better. The fact that you could do it on an app. Person might have had an app. Again, the Bcash stuff I stopped really following when they went down that path hard, but cannot be forgotten that they are the reason that for Bcoin, which is another implementation of Bitcoin, a JavaScript implementation, I believe they created. So, weird winding history with that company particularly. They wound down. It ended with a wind down last Thursday. And that's what a lot of people are asking if they're going to open source the code. So we'll see if that happens. But whether you love them or hate them, it is a culling of a company in the Bitcoin space. It's just interesting to see. And this next topic, you put the Purse link in twice, but Breez Wallet did add keysend support.
Yeah, so we have three major keysend stories. We have Breez Wallet added keysend, Nodl added keysend for the original Nodls, with the others to hopefully follow soon. And then, so keysend is the idea that instead of giving an invoice, you can send just to the pub key, just the node ID that the node is node by. This is only supported in LND right now, this implementation. I guess actually Breez is written in Go, I believe, so it's separate. But besides Breez, it's only LND, is my understanding.
I believe so too. So that's pretty cool. Just being able to send Satoshi without invoice, again, improving UX slowly but surely.
So the third story is Juggernaut
better.
Messenger, which leverages keysend to send. It's like the evolution of WhatsApp, to send messages, encrypted messages, from node to node using your public key. So it basically sends one SAT payments that are encrypted messages. You connect it to your LND node.
Yeah, this is crazy. So this is actually, I read about Sphinx last week in the Bent, I believe it was Thursday or Friday. Juggernaut, John Cantrell, who created this, reached out to me and said it's different than Sphinx in that it is node, like use your own node first mentality. Sphinx allows you to connect to your node, but If you're not able to do so, you can just use that app.
Well, it uses the Nodal cloud.
Custodially.
Sphinx. You have your own node in the cloud.
Yeah. But that's the beauty. Like, this is, and I said it last week, like, this is massive. Just from an application standpoint. Like, so imagine WeChat or Alipay, but without the surveillance state tracking you. Like, you could, so it's got the website of Juggernaut, lays it out like this. It's got familiar messenger. So if you've used Telegram, WhatsApp, or Signal, you'll find most of the features that are on those apps. There's no phone number or email connected. Again, it's just your node. Native payments, so send and receive payments as easily as you send a text message. So that's how like Alipay and WeChat come into play. There's no third party. There are no Juggernaut servers to connect to. All the messages are routed over the peer-to-peer Lightning Network, which is insane. Like, I don't think people are really grasping the gravity of how huge that is. Like, and that's the line I say a lot on this podcast and other podcasts that I go on. Like, we have a decision to make. We either get the Chinese surveillance state exported to the rest of the world, and the U.S. surveillance state too, let's be honest, or we work hard to build out these systems in a decentralized, distributed fashion on top of Bitcoin and other similar open source projects. And the big hurdle to actually making sure that these things are adoptable and people want to use them is UX. And again, I tried Sphinx. I have not downloaded Juggernaut yet. I can only speak for Sphinx, but the UX was pretty impeccable, and it was very easy to set up. And it is crazy to think that these messages are going through the Lightning Network, and it's peer-to-peer. It's not going through a server and then going to the other person on the end of the conversation's phone. Like, it's literally via the Lightning Network, which still I'm like trying to wrap my mind around it.
It could be massive. I do agree. We have this network that is onion routed and incentivized to route those messages where you're getting paid. So it could be massive. One thing to keep in mind here is keysend is a very new feature. The implications, which are not really known exactly. I was talking to Keto Miner of the Nodal team, and he was saying you shouldn't. So for Sphinx, he's running a ton of Nodal clouds instances, right? So a ton of nodes that are sending these one-sat payments between each other for Sphinx. And he said the elements to the routing are a lot different than like normal payments. So consider, instead of, if you are running a routing node, a node that's set up for, routing larger payments, you should be wary of enabling keysend so quickly. Maybe run it on, which is what I'm doing, run a separate instance of LND that is like your keysend instance. Basically, you want like a nice big channel with a routing node, and you get all, your messages reliability becomes way better.
Very good point. But will you agree that is pushing the ball forward, and hopefully they'll be able to fix that UX hurdle in the future? Like, again, we're talking about progress.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I think it's a big deal.
It's a again, going back to WeChat, like, you can basically create a very similar experience via, even if you don't want a keysend, just via the invoicing function of the Lightning Network within the apps. And so that's like one thing. People pay their bills. They do e-commerce shopping. They pay friends in Venmo style over these apps. Like, we're building that out on Lightning now. It's fucking insane.
Yeah, I've grown to love the invoicing, which is weird, because one of the things I liked about Bitcoin was that it was push payments.
It's still push payment.
Yeah, it's still push, but there's like that invoice step. I don't know. It's just something about like the scanning the QR code and having it auto-populate everything.
Yeah, it's dope. And do we mention that the Human Rights Foundation implemented pay join on their BTC Pay. So the only reason I bring it up is because I did donate after Alex made that. I donated via the Lightning Network, and just the way Zap makes it, like the way it populated, like going back and checking through it. That's exactly what you're describing.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's what made that pop up in my
It's
mind.
underrated that it's just in there. It just says HRF, right? Is that what it shows there? Yeah, that's awesome.
Something like that.
So yeah, HRF added it. The Blockstream store added it. There's a couple others. You know, it'd be nice to see a lot of merchant adoption here. What I expect is to see obviously adoption first among like the ideological companies in the space. They're going to be the first movers
how
here.
How huge is it though to see HRF? Like, and I said we talked about this with Alex when he was on the podcast. I don't remember if we talked about it while we were recording or off the record, but just me personally, I have a lot of inherent skepticism towards alphabet soup organizations like the World Health Organization, CDC, UNICEF, the UN. A lot of these.
What's the issue with UNICEF? UNICEF's kind of, what are they, like, really corrupt, right? Like the margin is ridiculous. What actually gets to kids?
Yeah, it's like them, like the Red Cross. They like.
Well, the Red Cross isn't a three-letter.
They market themselves like they say the
agency. Yeah.
No, it's not. But it falls.
It's NGO, right? Umbrella. Is that what we call them?
But I guess so. I don't know. I don't want to bring any heat towards the HRF for shitting on every other alphabet soup, but they back it up with action and good education, like that COVID-19 conference, and then Alex is trying to get people to use Bitcoin in the right way. Yeah, and you were scheduled to go before the COVID happened, to go to San Francisco and walk some refugees through this stuff. I mean, you already did once, but you're supposed to do it again.
Well, not refugees, but I think they call them Freedom Fellows.
Dissidents.
Yeah, activists.
Freedom Fellows. Dissidents. Sorry.
Yeah. HRF is great. It's good to see them add pay join support. I look forward to seeing a lot of other people also add pay join support. Let's get pay join usage up. That'd be great to see.
And we're gonna make sure that happens at the TFTC store. Yeah, we ran through all of our topics. The last one we have is macro oil.
Yeah,
the May contract went negative today.
What the fuck is that about, Marty? You want to provide some insight for us?
Yes, I do have some insight on this. Speaking with a coworker today, he has very intimate knowledge of the oil markets, and honestly, I'm able to draw on some of my experiences from when I worked in finance many moons ago. Yeah, obviously everybody's talking about oil going negative, but it was particularly the CME May contract. I believe it hit negative $60 at one point. And so, well, how does that happen? How can oil prices be negative? People are asking, like, what's going on? So you have, like, people, and I was trying to describe this to Matt earlier, before we hit record. It's funny that people have the Bitcoin mining death spiral meme is pretty big.
Do you like my Photoshop?
Sort of what's going on. I did. That was great.
Some people thought it was real.
I thought it was real first, and I was like, "There's no way CNBC is saying a death spiral," but it is sort of a death spiral, and because the oil producers find themselves in a very weird spot where they're highly indebted. It's like they make up a large portion of the high yield bad debt markets, and so as oil prices are dropping, which has been happening pretty consistently for the last couple months, as the economy shut down and demand has fallen precipitously, you have this weird sort of loop where as prices are falling, to make sure that they're able to pay back the loans that they have, oil producers are actually almost forced to increase production so they can sell more barrels to get more revenue to pay back their loans. And if you don't have demand following that up on the other side, what happens is you get a backup in storage. So that's what happened today, became pretty apparent to everybody in the market that all the storage for the oil in the U.S. shale industry particularly was full. So you literally can't move any more oil into storage at this current point in time because obviously the economy shut down. People aren't driving as much. Factories aren't running. You basically just don't have economic activity. People aren't shipping oil so far off lands to then be consumed because they're shut down as well. So you have this weird sort of doom loop where these oil producers need to try to keep their revenues at a point at which they can pay back their debt. But that forces them to produce more. And then as they're producing more, storage is becoming full. And it's gotten to the point where it's full. And you can't put oil in storage if it's full. So that's why I went negative today. Oil companies would be willing to pay somebody to take the oil from them and put it in storage because they want to keep their production up on the other side. And it's a weird sort of doom loop. And like you were saying before we hit record, the CME contract particularly dictates that they have to find storage in Oklahoma, which is another weird caveat, and it's just a bad situation all around.
They have to take custody in Oklahoma, which is like, how do you get there? Was it trains, I'm guessing, or trucks or something?
Yeah, trucks if there's no pipelines directly.
If it was Bitcoin, you could just send them a text. It wouldn't be that private. You should at least send them a signal message or PGP or something.
Yeah.
But so it's this specific contract, though, right? Like other oil markets around the world, other, instruments, financial instruments that you could trade oil, they're reporting higher prices, right? Like this is not, like oil is not around the world at -40 or -30 or wherever it hit.
For next month it is. So WTI is like the most popular contract that's traded. WTI crude. And so it's negative for next month so what that basically says, well, what are we, April 20th? It's 420. Happy 420 freaks. Didn't even realize. Basically what it's saying is the market, the futures markets don't expect the economy to go back to normal by next month. So they expect that storage will still be full. And because of that, that's why you have the negative price. So as you go further out on the futures curve into June, July, August, September, like the prices are going up because there's an assumption that maybe the economy will get back to normal and demand will show itself.
And
so there's
like air travel's down like 95% domestically. No one's driving.
Exactly.
Like, none of it's being used. Demand has come to a fucking complete stop.
Yeah, and so the price is being, I believe they're like 33 6 months out, $33 a barrel. That's basically the futures traders hoping that there will be enough demand to demand that price at that point in time. But like you just alluded to, like, are people going to be safe or feel safe hopping on flights? Are companies even going to like keep their office space leases going? Are they going to let their employees start working from home, which would decrease demand for gas because people aren't driving to work as much? Like there's a lot of externalities. And again, talking about like things that you don't expect when you shut down the economy. It's a very intricate, complex organism.
And people aren't going to like fly right away.
Particularly. No, they're not. People are going to be scared as shit.
Wait, so can
weird.
So WTI crude, which you're telling me is, I know it's what they show on the top of TradingView, but you're telling me it's the number one oil product in the world by trade volume, right?
I'm pretty sure.
Okay. So, but if it's not, it's probably high up there, right? It'd be like number 2 or
definitely.
something.
So it's,
what about Brent?
It's WTI and Brent.
Is Brent bigger?
Yeah. No, I think WTI.
Okay. Anyway,
by far,
it went down like what, like 135%? I thought you can't go down past 100%. Do we count that as 99% or do we count that as 140?
The biggest print I saw was 320%.
See, I didn't even know that was possible. I thought you could only lose 100%. That's pretty crazy. And
you can lose as much as you invest, and then you have to pay people on the other end. So you're basically just adding to that loss of your initial investment. So you're adding more money to get rid of it than to sell it at even a loss. You got to add to your loss.
That's ridiculous.
By paying people to take it away.
Yeah. What's annoying here is proponents of the efficient market hypothesis will say that this was
priced in, bro.
No. This was the market pricing in this externality. But I would say, like, if it's going to price it in all on one day, does that shouldn't count, right? Like you can't count that in. That's like ridiculous. Like it should have known that storage was filled, right? Like this is a known thing. Like people stop driving, people stop flying.
I completely agree. Like even if it didn't know that storage was filled at any particular point in time, you should just be able to surmise, if you're an efficient market, that storage will become full at some point in the future if there's no demand to soak up the supply. And you can literally look at the supply numbers, the supply prints every day and be like, all right, this isn't fucking adding up.
Right. So you have this like super liquid, super developed market that's supposed to be super efficient, not effectively price this in. And then you're going to tell me that this super immature asset that's brand new, that's barely a decade old, is that everything about it is priced in, like the halving is priced in, is the most ridiculous concept ever. Like that's ridiculous. It's going through its adoption phase. Like barely anyone owns it. Maybe more people know about it now, but like they don't really know about it. They've heard of it. They know the name.
Yeah. I mean, I've been clamoring that the halving or Bitcoin's not priced in it. Like it can't be priced in. Everybody's like, oh, the market automatically prices this in. But then what is the market? The market of people who are buying Bitcoin are people who know it and are convinced that it'll either appreciate or that they can trade it. And it's $130 billion right now. Like it's not priced in because you're completely discounting the money outside of this bubble that has not hit an education threshold or even dabbled in Bitcoin. Like that is not priced in. It's literally not priced in. People haven't thought of it.
If I was a proponent of the EMH, I would tell you, Marty, that we don't need all the participants to price in the knowledge. We just need a select few with deep liquidity to price it in. So it doesn't really matter that other people don't know. It just matters.
No, and then value at risk, so efficient market hypothesis people don't understand the concept of VAR, then value at risk. Like even if somebody, a huge institutional player, had a lot of conviction in Bitcoin, they have fiduciary responsibilities to limit their value at risk. So even if they believe that Bitcoin is going to go to $10 million, they are still constrained within the mandate of their fund to put. I mean, you could be more risky than others if you want it to be, but you're not going to be able to market that well to investors.
Yeah,
it's not VAR isn't mandated. It is when you go pitch a fund, you say, hey, our VAR is per trade is at X amount, and you should stay within certain VAR thresholds if you want to be able to market your fund and raise money.
So I think
so. Even if a huge institutional player believed in Bitcoin that it was going to go to trillions of dollars market cap, maybe their value at risk and their risk sort of thresholds would stop them from putting more money than maybe their chief investment officer would want to.
Yeah, I mean, I think my answer to that would be tangential to yours, like adjacent to it. I think institutional money is there's too much focus on it, or like big player money, fund money, because at the end of the day, the like the average Joes that don't have that much money, that are just dollar cost averaging over and over again, I think those guys have way more upward pressure than people give them credit for. Just regular people buying Bitcoin. So those people don't have deep pockets. They can't effectively price in their belief that the halving should increase the price, right? Like they're being held back by their financial situation. And you can't price that in. That's the delta.
I have been and still am one of those people. Like I still DCA after every paycheck. Like if I could price in more of the Bitcoin market cap, I would, but sort of hindered by my success in life at this given point in time. And so are a bunch of other people. And yeah, it's asinine to think that those people, heavy hodlers, given the opportunity to throw a bunch more money, wouldn't do it. Yeah, I mean, there's asymmetric knowledge everywhere. There's it's not priced in.
I try
fully. It can't be priced in fully.
Once a week, I try to help price in the halving. That's what I do.
Yeah. You got me on a. I was already screaming about MMT today. Big MMT debates recently. I'm already riled up about that. I just have to throw some efficient market hypothesis stuff in there. MMT is dumb, in my opinion. It doesn't make any sense.
But it's going to happen.
It's saying
right?
The market is centrally planned. It is. Well, apparently it already is happening.
Yeah, that's exactly what's happening.
Yeah, and that's the whole So that's the whole argument. Like, if it's happening, do you go along with it and try and profit off of that, or do you try to recognize the stupid will lead to bad decisions and a massive misallocation of capital that you try to stop? Just because I will concede that it's happening and probably will continue to happen and actually become more predominant in the world of monetary policy in the mainstream, but that doesn't mean I can acknowledge that it's going to happen and still think it's stupid and probably not worthwhile to go down that path.
Sounds a lot like shitcoins. Do you want to explain what MMT is? Modern monetary theory?
Well, that's
what is
Well, that's the thing.
Okay, go on.
They make it so confusing that it's like hard to fucking explain. You get MMT explained pretty hard by people who have read thousands of pages of this.
It's like
it's so intricate, and like that's the thing. Yeah, like just off the bat from first principles, it's so complicated that it can't be distilled in like a 3-hour conversation. If you spoke to somebody for 3 hours just to try to get the basics of MMT, it would be so fucking.
Okay.
It is confusing.
So I have a TLDR. Tell me if you think it's appropriate.
Okay, I'll give the TLDR. TLDR is right now QE is not doing a good enough job of allocating capital. It goes to the banks, it pushes financial assets up, and it drives a wedge in income inequality. Modern monetary theorists believe that the state should come in and take more control of how that money is allocated, basically how QE money is allocated. It wouldn't be QE exactly, but the gist is how money should be allocated. It shouldn't just go to banks' balance sheets and then they can do with it what they want. Obviously, they aren't giving out loans. People aren't taking out loans. So there needs to be more concerted effort to push that money, to push the flows to certain areas of the economy. And it is infinitely more stupid than QE. If QE wasn't stupid enough, MMT saying, all right, QE's not working. We're not able to allocate. Obviously, this capital is not being allocated efficiently. So we're going to have the state, the government, step in and tell people how to allocate this capital. So you're basically taking what QE is and you're turning that up to 11 and saying, hey, the state is going to step in and be way more efficient than QE is, and they're going to be able to pick the winners and losers, and then you get into the whole conversation of how they curb inflation. You could do that via fiscal policy by lowering taxes and taxing more when inflation's getting out of hand. So you pull more money out of the market and you bring inflation into a sort of bound that is controllable. But it's again, we talk about this a lot on this podcast. You can't micromanage complex systems. We're finding that out right now with the oil markets. It's the other thing. The oil market's like one of the only non-manipulated, bailed-out markets in the world, and we're seeing what happens when that happens. Like you get true pricing coming into play.
Wait, why is it not manipulated? Isn't it? Aren't there like tons of oil subsidies and whatnot?
Well, they're not getting bailed out. There may be subsidies. But I don't think.
But yeah, I mean, I think your last two sentences there were like the perfect TLDR, right? Like it's all about micromanaging everything, and that you can like over-engineer the problem into a solution.
Yes, and that is exactly what I think is what MMT is, an over-engineering a bunch of intellectuals thinking they can dictate the most advantageous flow of capital, and I just. Heuristically, that's
it could
dumb.
Pump the stock market, right, for like 5 years or something.
Yes, and I don't deny that. Definitely. It doesn't make it right though. Will it really help inequality? I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely won't help inequality. Is that what you said at the end there? Yeah. It's not gonna do that. But like, if it's gonna happen, you have to plan accordingly, right? So like, you got to keep your mind. You gotta be ready for it.
No, I'm gonna be that. I know. But like, if you look at the CARES Act, look at everything they got through there. Pelosi, Schumer.
Did you see all the colleges?
They didn't pass the act. Yeah, all the colleges, Columbia, MIT,
$12 billion endowment.
I know. Yeah, like all these colleges with crazy endowments, which are supposed to be either funds to reinvest in your school and your alumni association, your alumni network, or a fund for a rainy day. And we have multi-deca-billion-dollar endowments getting bailed out while people are working. People aren't working. They've been furloughed or completely fired at this point, are sitting at home with their thumbs up their ass, wondering where they're going to get their next $100 to buy food. And fucking Colombia is getting $9 million that they don't fucking need. The president of Colombia makes $4 million a year. Take a pay cut for 1 year, bro. Like, what the fuck?
Or like just dip into the endowment a little bit. They didn't cut tuitions.
Yeah. No. It's so ass backwards. And that's why
I'm torn on it.
You don't, right? Because if you're a smart investor, you don't make decisions because of your moral compass. But with MMT particularly, like, I think it's getting to a point where it's like, hey, I know historically from an investment perspective that's not wise. Like, don't fight the Fed. Don't do any of the shit. But for me, it's like I'm throwing my hand. Like, how more blatantly crazy could you get? Like, more people and MMT particularly, they're basically getting into an exotic form of price fixing. So here's one of like the go-to papers on modern monetary theory written by Fulwiler, Gray, and Tankus. Here's one excerpt that Dave Collins shared in his end-of-year review last year. We need alternative tools in place to manage the power of big business and ensure their pricing policies are consistent with public purpose. Because of the pricing power of big companies, whichever administrative agency or agencies is responsible for managing aggregate demand should not be responsible for overall inflation on its own. It should either share joint responsibility for keeping inflation on target with other agencies responsible for regulating business pricing power, or new indices should be constructed that exclude concentrated markets where prices are clearly acyclical. So you have some weird, that paragraph basically describes some weird exotic form of price fixing that has historically not worked out. Like, who, number one, are the bureaucrats that are going to decide which big businesses or industries are mispricing goods, and how are they going to dictate what is the the accurate price of the goods that those industries are pricing. Like, then you get into a whole terrible slippery slope.
Ridiculous. But I mean, price fixing is ridiculous. I didn't realize that was a possibility. I don't think that's a possibility. Do you really think that's a possibility?
Well, that's the thing. That's why I said an exotic form of price fixing. They're not going to say, hey, here's the price of this. They're going to mandate policy that pushes prices in a certain direction.
They're going to fuck around behind the scenes to make the prices.
Yes. They're going to say, hey, we think this is mispriced, so we're going to dictate policy in this way so that prices hopefully move in this direction, which we think is more fair. And that's, like, who is the we? Who is the we making these decisions? The same people who are giving Colombia $9 million, who wouldn't pass the CARES Act until the Kennedy Foundation got $25 million. Like, the human error and human greed comes into play. Like, the people making these decisions have incentives to help certain people that finance their campaigns and stuff like that. To think that MMT would be bereft of the corruption that exists in our political system is dumb.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to say one thing that, you know, I think these are all loans, right, that may be forgiven. And so the way they constructed the whole system, the way the federal government released the whole system is they released it in this gameable way, right, where you have a limited amount of funds to be lent out, that the banks are going to take on a portion of that risk of the funds that are being lent out. So the banks wanted to, like, they would love to just, you know, out of all the people to lend to, you might as well lend to Colombia with a however billion endowment they have, 10 billion endowment. Right? So, like, the incentives, and, like, of course, if you're Colombia, you're going to go for it, right? If it's offered to you, a super low interest loan, you're going to take it.
Well, we saw that with Shake Shack too. Danny Meyer, yeah. Shake Shack took the loan.
10 million.
And, like, they got political pressure. Yeah, it took 10 million. Then they got pressure from the public. Like, what the fuck do you need 10 million for, Shake Shack? Like, this is supposed to be for small, medium-sized businesses.
And Ruth Chris.
And they gave it back.
Ruth Chris got 25 million.
What?
Yeah. And they fired, like, all their employees, but they kept all their management, like upper management. I'm just saying, like, if you have broken incentives, like, they're going to get taken advantage of. And I don't think that when it was implemented, they cared, that they knew exactly who was going to take advantage of it.
Well, and that's exactly my point. Why is this going to be any different under a modern monetary theory regime? Like, if anything, it's only going to get worse. Yeah. The incentives get skewed even more.
Yeah. But stocks might pump. And Bitcoin.
They'll definitely pump.
All
Bitcoin
assets
can pump in other ways, though. Yeah. It doesn't need MMT to pump.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would pump in bad and good situations, but I'm just
infinitely bullish.
I'm listening to my Bitcoin Zen now, so don't listen to me.
I mean, I've been in my Bitcoin Zen for quite some time. MMT is like, because it's going to happen. That's the thing that makes me mad. And you know what? People are going to profit off of it. It's going to make markets scream for a little bit, maybe. It doesn't make it right at the end of the day.
Oh, I mean, yeah.
Who knows?
We should have a Bitcoin standard, right? A SAT standard.
I could be speaking out of my ass. Hey, maybe MMT is actually good for the world and will help bring wage inflation to the point at which the purchasing power of the common man has come in line with his productive capital. I'm not holding my breath, though.
How noble of you.
Well, I should be holding my breath.
No, that you said that MMT could work. I mean, I agree with you. I don't think it could work, so, but we'll see.
We'll see. They're definitely going to try it. They already are trying it. MMT is arguably already here, so.
It's all too complicated.
I mean, yeah, exactly. Like, how can you not
like this oil thing? This oil thing, like, there's going to be a shit ton of ripple effects here, right? Like, there's no way this is not all interconnected. Yeah. Like, they can't handle negative prices. What the fuck?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. It's great to start coming out talking about how we're going to use gas byproducts from oil extraction to mine Bitcoin. Nah, I mean, as at Great American Mining, we're like covering this. We're assessing the situation very closely. Luckily, where we are right now is safe for the time being. But yeah, I mean, this could affect us. This is a variable you have to take into consideration when you're doing gas byproduct mining.
But I mean, I think it's going to affect like all these other industries and stuff that people aren't really thinking about. I mean, we always see like the break-even price, right? And they have the charts of the different countries with the different break-even prices. Like if I recall, none of them were at negative 30, right? Like that's.
Well, I think you had to take into consideration the average of the whole curve. Like negative 30 is just the May contract. Exactly. If you go out further, but that's not to say that moving forward as time passes that other months won't go negative as well, depending on whether or not we get back to work and people are consuming that oil. You need the demand to follow up with the supply.
Like presumably,
and that's simply
there's guys building like huge ass tanks right now, right? Like they're off to the races, but like trying to get it, at the cheap price.
I mean, there's a huge arb. Like if you're able to get it at negative $40 a barrel, which basically you get paid to take it, and you're able to hold it and make sure the quality of the gas doesn't depreciate over a time frame that allows you to then sell it at a positive price, like that's a big profit right there. But whether or not that's possible, whether or not our officials let that happen by letting people go back to work is yet to be seen.
Yep. We'll see what happens there. It was crazy. It was crazy. It was a crazy day watching it. I had no idea prices could even go negative. So that was a learning experience for me today. It makes sense. It makes complete sense.
Yeah. And the CME announced it like right before they went negative. Like, hey, just so you know, this shit could go negative. And people are like, what? Like, no, like I wouldn't actually be surprised again if today was a Lehman moment where you have some unintended ripple, not even unintended, it's like unforeseen ripple effects that come from this. Again, the oil industry makes up a good portion of the high yield debt market. And so if you have a cascading effect in them defaulting on their loans, and you have a couple banks that have pretty fickle loan books, and that starts to bleed into other stuff that they have on their books, who knows? You could see a cascading effect there. I'm not going to claim that's going to happen, but it wouldn't surprise me if something like that happens. Some unforeseen externalities coming up. I mean, unprecedented day today. Like we're such a double-edged sword being alive in 2020. It's like one of the worst years to be alive, but also one of the best from like an experience level. Like how much worse could we go through? And how much stronger will this make us in the long run? Just individuals living through this at this particular age.
I mean, I feel like it could be a lot worse. So, maybe we lucked out here. Fingers crossed. We'll see how that works out.
I mean,
hopefully it's like
it's pretty bad.
Hopefully it's like a warning lesson, But
How bad do you think you can get? What's going through Matt Odell's mind right now? Like, what's the worst case scenario?
Well, I mean, the virus could have been
people on the streets stabbing each other.
The virus could have been more fucked, and yeah, just like the lack of general civil unrest so far.
Well, I think the powers that be want you to believe that people will go crazy and start killing each other and like purging each other at a certain point, which some people may, but I do believe, truly, deep down in my heart, that most people are good people, and they would be more willing to help their fellow man.
I don't know.
And stab him in the eye.
I mean, I believe that too, for the most part. But like, still, like cities and stuff, shit breaks down real quick. I think, cautiously optimistic that the virus doesn't fuck us up that much. But the shutdown, like I've been bearish for fucking forever, right? So if I've been bearish on like equities, stock market, and whatnot. Just our general economy just seemed like a house of cards. So now, obviously, I'm even more bearish, but I'm trying to check my biases. So that's where we are today.
Well, there's a complete dislocation in the pricing mechanism of the stock markets in reality. It does not make any fucking sense that the stock market is where it is. It is a completely manipulated market. And if anything were to drive that home, it's the last month and a half. You literally have, we'll see the print on Thursday, definitely more than upwards of 25 million Americans unemployed right now, yet stocks are fucking skyrocketing. I'm actually going to drop my episode with Ben Hunt tomorrow and we talk about this. Like he's not so convinced that we're going to see the V-shaped recovery that some people are. Like it's just going to be too glaringly obvious. Like you have what is it, 20% of the workforce, 25% of the workforce out of work, and your like valuations are going up. It doesn't make any fucking sense, dude.
Well, it's MMT.
Hey, it's good. It's good for the people. Yeah, it's working. That wage inflation is going to come right away for this 25 million unemployed.
No, it's fucked up.
Now you got me on MMT again. It doesn't make any fucking sense. But they're going to try and force it down your throats. You can micromanage that shit, though.
The stock market is just it doesn't really matter, right? It just money gets printed and
it's fugazi. It's fugazi.
But like, where else do you put your money?
But the money's not printed, dude. The money's not printed, dude. It's just you're just switching reserves with the banks. You're not really printing money. That's the other argument I hate. Is they're like, oh, you're not actually printing money. That money never makes its way to the economy via loans. But the executives that benefit from QE in the form of asset price inflation in the stock market and real estate, they can then go sell those stocks or that real estate and take that cash out that way. It's just a roundabout way, like, to say that no inflation exists. And I guess their counter argument would be if they were all to do that at the same time, you'd have asset valuations crash, but they don't do it all at the same time.
I think for that model to be fair, like the populace would have to own a portion of the total assets, right? But you don't see that distribution. Obviously, people on the lower end of the income scale don't own any assets, so they don't see any of the rise in that. They just see declining purchasing power, and they just get wrecked. It's the hidden tax.
Yeah. But it's our way out, man. Let's just do it. We're just going to do it better. We're going to do it by allocating that new money better.
But anyway, Bitcoin
Debt doesn't matter.
Bitcoin held up well. I might be jinxing it by the time this drops. All
right, yeah. We didn't get to Clark Moody's dashboard. Let's check it.
Yeah, let's check it and wrap this baby up.
We're at $6,866 right now. A little lower than we were this morning. Tor node's still at 42.2% of Lightning Network capacity. Next difficulty adjustment is scheduled to be tomorrow. 49 blocks from now, actually. Excuse me. Last Thursday was 11% upward difficulty adjustment. Now it's 8.5%. Blocks are coming in at 9 minutes and 13 seconds. On Thursday it was 9:01, so it seems like we've had hash rate drop off the network, and the halving is only 3,073 blocks away. Estimated to be on May 11th now. I believe that's a Sunday. Is that a Monday?
We should see hash rate go up with oil falling.
No,
why
I
not?
Say that.
Energy prices in general would go down. No.
Yeah, I mean, but you'd have to have your miners deployed right next to the oil ready to turn on. That's like, I mean, that hasn't been.
Well, I mean, like in like over the next couple of months, like we should get a hash rate bonus from it. You don't think so?
No. If anything, I mean, what we're doing depends on oil production. And luckily where we are, it is profitable at very low prices to drill the oil, so we get the byproduct still. But there are other, like in Canada, it's very negative up there. So if you have individual miners using gas byproduct from oil drilling to mine Bitcoin, and they're shutting down all their capacity, that actually would reduce your hash rate, unless you could quickly transition to consuming oil over the gas, which with the way the generators are set up.
But you don't think grid prices go down with oil? Like, does grid electricity?
No, what grids run on oil?
I don't know, just because it's like an energy. Does energy go down together, or is it's disjointed?
I hope that's not a stupid question I asked. What grids? I feel like most of the grids run on natural gas or... damn. I should probably know
just
this.
figured it was like energy. Like there was some correlation there.
It depends what the source is. I could... Yeah, I can't speak with authority on that. I'm not going to try to. It's something I should know, though. And not just from Great American Mining, but from my days in the commodities markets. I'm pretty sure natural gas is the biggest resource used on the grid, and that's because it's so abundant and so cheap. So I mean, natural gas is cheap already. It can't get much cheaper.
Fair enough. So no hash rate bump.
Maybe. I mean, if you want like hash rate bump, like talk about externalities. If you had like companies completely shutting down with less stress on the grid, so you have less resources vying for the same energy source. Yeah, maybe. Who knows? But it's got to fall. Oh, well, then you have people at home all day, and they're using their ACs and their heaters. So if they're not at work, trying to heat their houses until they don't have enough money to pay for that. I'm thinking out loud now. I don't know.
Well, Marty, this is a banger of an episode, but I have to get to dinner. So
you gotta go eat that sausage.
I have to go make the sausage. So
oh, you're making the sausage.
That's why I kind of deserve the note, because I didn't really tell them what was happening, but yeah, I have to go make the sausages.
Tell your family I said hello, and that I'm sorry that I delayed their sausage consumption.
I love you, freaks. I love you, Marty. Stay humble, stack sats.
Peace and love, freaks.